Hi, everyone. It's Adina here, the host of the Immigrant Finance Podcast. We have Andrea Rotondo with us today, who is an amazing bookkeeper and expert on all things finance with businesses. Welcome, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you so much, Adina, for having me here. My name is Andrea Rotondo. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat about all things bookkeeping. And I know that everybody's probably like, not for me, but just wait because there's going to be some good information for you. So thank you for
Absolutely. Yes. And let me go ahead and share your bio and we can jump in. So Andrea is a bookkeeper and the owner of Liquid Cents Bookkeeping. Her background is in psychology. She has years of volunteer work and life as a military spouse, now a veteran spouse. These experiences filled her with a desire to connect and help others in a meaningful way. That's why she supports women business owners who want to build wealth while helping others. She lives with her husband and kids in South Florida. Anything else you want to add to that about who you are?
Yes. And on top of all of that, I am an immigrant. I was born in Ecuador and I moved here when I was 16. So it's a whole bunch of beautiful pieces that make who I am. So,
Yes, and love the Ecuador connection. I think you're one of the first guests we had on the podcast from Ecuador. As you know, my husband's from
you're
Ecuador. We go
right.
often. He was just there last week actually for a wedding.
No way. I
Yeah.
actually haven't been back since I moved here. So I'm sure everything is
Wow.
super different
It
now.
is. It's a crazy time right now. There's really serious protests going on.
Yes, I did
Yeah.
see that.
That's a
That's
whole other story. But to jump in, I'm wondering actually if you can start with kind of defining what bookkeeping is for people who aren't familiar with that term. And then we can kind of get
yes.
into your immigrant background.
Absolutely. So, bookkeeping is basically just keeping track of your finances, specifically in your business. So, you have a business, you have income coming in, you have expenses and just money going out. And bookkeeping is a process of recording all of that. Now, there is so many ways that you can actually do that. And the most important thing of bookkeeping is the actual results that you can get from that. So, for example, you have all your records, assuming that everything is done correctly, that you're doing things pretty often, you're going to be able to look at your reports, your financial reports, that they're literally being or grabbing those numbers from those records that you're putting in. So, for example, if you're wondering how much money did I make last month, or how much money am I making so far in this month or this year, how does that compare to last year? If you have different offers, how much each one of those are making. So, all of those numbers you're going to be able to pull from those records as well as your expenses. It's so much easier to keep track of your income because you usually have it more concise. Like you can see the payments coming in and things like that. But your expenses usually just go and go and go, and we swipe and we swipe. Everything is online now, so it doesn't even feel like we don't feel the burden or the pain of paying things like physically paying with cash or even swiping your card because everything is online. So we tend to overspend a little bit or not. If we're not overspending, we're not so much aware of where our money is going. And that's another benefit of you keeping track of everything because you can literally pull up a list of this is exactly cent by cent, dollar by dollar where your money is going. And based on that, you can continue to make decisions that are going to be helpful for your business and your profit.
That was such a great explanation. Thank you for sharing that for people to know the value of bookkeeping. I'll just share like quickly my experience to help people see why this is important.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what bookkeeping was until years into having a business. I don't think I had even heard of it.
Right.
And, you know, my parents had their own business and were entrepreneurs and they never had a bookkeeper even. And you know, they had like an accountant who helped with taxes and stuff. But I remember growing up, like my mom sitting there for like days every month, like overwhelmed by all the receipts and everything. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I hadn't even thought about it. And then my coach was just like, just trust me, just do it. Like, you don't want your brain space going to all of that, like every single transaction. Like, there's more value you can be offering in your business, like just invest in a bookkeeper. And it's been amazing. It's been so helpful and giving me a lot of time back. So I'm very grateful for bookkeepers.
That's true. And it's so true what you're saying. Like, coming, my dad as well was also a business owner, and we had an accountant, but we didn't have a bookkeeper. And now I'm like, how did we even do this? Like, how did we have a business and not know, like, not have access to that kind of information? And also, what you said, like, you just free up so much mental space, because it's kind of like a pressure that we put on ourselves as business owners to, like,
Yeah.
literally have absolutely everything under control. And
Yeah.
that's kind of unfair of us to put that kind of like responsibility or expectation mostly on us to know it. Like,
Yeah.
not to get it done, but to know it. Like, oh, I'm the business owner, I should know this. Of course,
Right.
I'm the one working. I should know where my money is going. I should know. And then whenever somebody asks you or you want to know and you don't know, it's like, I must be doing something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
everybody knows this, but I don't. And that's not
Totally.
the truth. And that's another benefit of, like, you are not the one in charge of keeping track of absolutely like the running
Yeah.
math in your brain. You don't
Yeah.
have to. There's literally so many ways that you can do that and
Yeah.
still obtain the results. So that definitely feels like like a pressure off your shoulders.
Totally. And not only is it just one more thing I want to add for why it's important so that people know to listen to the rest of the episode if they're listening now is like it's not just, taking that burden off you of the numbers and the details. It also helps you grow your business and make more money because when you have
Right.
that time freed up and you have those numbers, that are accurate and you can be more strategic. You can see, okay, what's happening this month? What was going on this month compared to last month that might be causing this, or last year? What shift can I make in my business? So you allow the numbers from the bookkeeper to guide you to make more strategic decisions in your business. And then again, time. You have more time to focus on making money and helping people, doing the work you were meant to do in the first place, right?
Right. Exactly. Yep. You said that really well.
Cool. I'm very passionate about this topic. But yeah, let's go ahead and have folks learn more about you. So if you want to share a little bit about your family's immigrant background, I think people would love to
Yeah.
hear.
Yes, I was just telling Adina before we started recording, like, how it's been so interesting this week to, like, remember all of that and go through all of that, because right now I am 34. I just turned 34 2 days ago, and I moved here when I
Happy
was
birthday.
16. Thank you. So I was 16 when I moved here, and when you're 16, you're not like, you don't care anything about, I'm gonna go and have a better life. Like, you just want to stay with your friends. So that's where I was. I didn't want to come. I was very adamant about coming. I was very lucky to come with my family. So my dad and my mom moved here, and we moved in with my sister. She had already been living here for many years. And that's kind of like how the whole immigration journey started, through my sister. So my parents, because they, like, in whole, like, the immigration thing, they were first priority. So they were able to obtain all their documents and everything super fast. However, somehow along the way that I really can't pinpoint, I don't remember, we got some bad advice. And my papers just were not coming. We were not getting anything. Like, I was not getting any notifications, any updates. Nothing was happening, and time was going by, was passing by. I had finished high school. I got scholarships from different places, and I was just not able to do anything with those because I didn't have my documents in place. I was thinking about joining the Air Force, and I couldn't do it because, again, I didn't have my social security number. And one day we were like, okay, we need to go figure it out. I need to, I want to keep on reaching my goals and things like that. And there's just something missing. So we went to an immigration attorney's office, and without hesitation or emotion, she just told me straight up, like, she told me in Spanish, estás en estado deportable, which it means that basically you just can get deported at any minute. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. How is it that we were just not aware of this? And we were all just very surprised. Number one, that we just didn't know that. And number two, how just things can fall through the cracks. And if you don't get the right advice, and at least with immigration, things are always evolving. And it's very
Totally.
difficult for us as the ones doing the petitions to keep up with all of that. So we were just kind of like, I guess, upset at ourselves that we didn't figure that out before. So I was kind of like stuck in there, like, how do we figure this out now? So we just, we chatted with the lawyer and we just kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and figuring things out until finally, after, I don't know, it was like probably 10 years, I was able to finally get everything in place. So
10
that,
years.
it was a very long
That's a
time.
long time.
I think the way that she described, like, you can literally go back at any moment, it really hit me to the point that I started to kind of hide. Like, I just wanted to be
Yeah.
invisible. So
Yeah.
whenever I was out, like, you would never see me being loud, or like, I just wanted to blend in. I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to caught any, like, attention. I didn't want anybody to know my name. I was so afraid to, like, getting caught driving without a license, because since I moved here when I was 16, I didn't have a license from Ecuador. I was not able to
Mm-hmm.
get one here, so I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anything. So I didn't even learn how to drive until I had my
Wow.
papers, because I was like, I can't even risk it.
Like
Like,
10
just
years
being,
later.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you
So
for
there was,
sharing all that because I know a lot of people in our community have gone through or are currently going through that. So thanks for just
yeah.
sharing like what that felt like.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it was a shock in the beginning. And then you kind of, at least my experience was, I don't want anybody to know that I exist. Like here,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want, other than my circle, like my trust circle, I don't want, and it's at that point, I don't even think that I was something that I just shared. I don't think that I have really
Mm-hmm.
talked about everything up until now. So
Wow.
it was very, very heavy at that point. Like, now
Yeah.
I say it with a lot more ease, but at that
Mm-hmm.
point it was very difficult. I know, like, I was aware that there were so many opportunities and things that I wanted to do, that and opportunities that were given to me, that I couldn't, I couldn't take them
Yeah.
because of that limitation. And that's what it felt like. It, and in what the way, obviously it is, it's a limitation. um and it's very emotional, more than the logistical kind of thing. It's very emotional. It never really leaves you. So,
Yeah.
at least in my experience. So if
Of
that's you, like, as
course.
you know, saying, like, it's, you're really not alone. It's so many people that go through it, that you probably don't even know in your circle, that are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I do think that we have to be very careful with how we manage that and how we discuss that. But
Of
most
course.
importantly, I think that what I take from that piece of journey that I had, like, in my journey, is that you want to find reliable sources. You want to find the right advice, whether it's, Adina right here, getting the right, like, actual information that you can really trust. Go to somebody and get them, like, give them your documents, this is my process, and things like that, because
Mm-hmm.
that does give you peace. Even though the news that I received when I went to the attorney were not the ones that I was expecting, it did give me the information that I needed, so that I could now know what steps to take.
Right.
Without that
Right.
information, you don't really know. You know where you want to go, but you have no idea where you are. And if you don't know
Yeah.
where you are, there's no way that you can build up, like, a roadmap. So it's
Exactly.
very, very important to really seek actual advice, cater to
Yeah.
you. And the same thing with your finances, which is something that, it was,
Yeah.
I
It's the
experienced that
same.
as well.
It's exactly the same.
I wanted to work, but I couldn't get paid because I didn't have a social. So
Mm-hmm.
it was our accountant that told me, "Look, you can just get an IT number,
Yep.
get built, like, make an LLC, and then you can just get paid like a contractor." What they
Yep.
didn't tell me is that an LLC is a separate entity than myself. So I got paid. I deposited that check into my business account. It was called Arrow 49. I still remember. And that's the same card that I swiped to go get my groceries, like to go buy
Yeah.
clothes, like whatever it is that I wanted to do for myself, that was my money. I
Yeah.
have no idea what the accountant did to do my taxes. I have no idea up until now that I'm learned, like that I'm in this world of like, this is what you do. This is what you do. I was like, no, number one, nobody told me. Number two, I didn't know. So I never really, like the responsibility still falls on me. I didn't look it up. I have an LLC. What now? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Information was not so readily available as it is now. And it's so funny because this is what, like maybe 13 years ago, is not that far ago.
Yeah.
But still, I was not Googling everything as we do now.
Right.
So, yeah,
And can
that's
I
one of the
just
things.
jump in for a
Yeah.
second for people to know exactly what you're talking about? You're talking about like the importance of having separation
Right.
between your personal finances and your business finances. And most people don't. Most people don't know, even if they don't have an immigration issue, right? It's just
For
all
sure.
mixed together. And it's important to separate it for lots and lots of reasons. We'll talk about, I'm sure. I'll let you talk about why it's important. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that for folks. Please continue.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I was saying, like people tell you kind of like people like to give advice and tell you, oh, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
But there's always, this is what you should do. And these are the steps to do things correctly. And that's where we tend to like not pay attention to those steps. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
you should get an LLC, you should create a business. But like Adina was saying, it is so, so important to keep your finances separate because, especially for the IRS, and then also in terms of legalities, Adina can tell you that. But for the IRS, that's just red flags. Like, oh, this business is using, like, it's called commingling of funds, which is their
Mm.
funny, like fancy way of saying you're mixing. You're using
Yeah.
personal and business from the same account. And that's against what the IRS has established for businesses. So that raises red flags. If you are like me, that I had no status, I was just there waiting. You don't want to create, you know, you don't want the extra attention to look at you and say, no, like you're asking for this, I'm not going to give it to you because you're not being compliant with your finances. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything straight. It does give you that peace of I'm doing things right. And if somebody were to come and ask me for my finances, I can show them. I have all the records. I can show them and I'm doing things right.
Yep.
And number three, I think, I don't even know how many points I said. It is so much easier. Like we were going back to the bookkeeping, it's so much easier to actually be strategic with your money,
Yeah.
to have them separate. Because if everything is mixed, your numbers are going to be all mixed. It's going to be so
Yep.
much harder for you to take that first step of actually getting it done. You're like, oh my God, but I have 300 transactions. I don't want to get this done.
Yeah.
That's in the like practical side. And then also looking at it as the big picture, I remember thinking, this is just a name so that I can get paid. This is not
Mm.
really a business.
Mm-hmm.
But what's stopping it from being a
Yeah.
business?
Why
What's
can't it be a
stopping it?
business?
Exactly. What's stopping it from you to say, you know what, that cycle of la lucha, aquí estoy en la lucha, like I have to work so hard.
Yeah.
Why can it, why can that be that tool to get you
Mm-hmm.
out of that? Like you don't have to stay there. So if you have already established a business to do the same thing that I was doing to get paid
Yeah.
and doing all of that, or if you want to do that, that is such a great tool for us to continue to build that wealth, to get out of
Mm-hmm.
that just ongoing struggle. And it is one of those things that you can use for to build wealth for your future generations, which is again
Yes.
something so important and to the core of us immigrants. We want that better future for us, but most importantly, we are looking at the generations that are coming after us.
Absolutely.
And if that's what you're using today to get paid, then use that as that wealth again for them that are coming after you.
I love that. And how much of a difference is there between like I just have an LLC because I don't have another option, and the immigration laws have required this of me to do this, right? So I guess I'll just do it in order to get paid versus I'm a business owner and I'm building a business, to do what I'm meant to do and help grow as a person and grow my business and grow, my wealth and support my family. Like it's such a different mindset, and it's those
Yeah.
little tweaks you can make with mindset that it's not about the immigration laws. It's a choice. It's like taking your power back in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. I think that if I would have thought about it like that back then, it would have helped me get out of that. Like, I want to be invisible. I don't want anybody to know that I exist. It would have really helped me
Yes.
with that. Like, I am a business owner. I never really thought of that up until now that I have my bookkeeping business.
Yeah.
But it does help. It does give you a different perspective. It helps you to kind of like lift up your eyes and see there's more. There's more
Yeah.
than just trying to figure out this paycheck. There's more than just this four walls. And it's literally doable. Like you can reach it.
Yeah.
But it starts with us. And also, I don't think that we can do everything on our own. I do think that we need community. I think that we need support. I think that immigration, like this journey, as specifically to what I lived, and everybody has different journeys. We really, like, it's okay to feel very overwhelmed, to feel down, to feel like there's no way out. I felt like that for so long, but like try to find at least one person to be that support for you, that when you feel like I was saying, like down, just sad, like the straight up sad. I feel sad. I want to cry about this. I don't know if this is going to ever work out. And you just want to complain for 5 minutes or more, that you can do that with somebody.
Yeah.
And that somebody has to be somebody that can lift you up, that is
Mm-hmm.
ready. They like they know, I'm gonna be here to be your support. I'm gonna be here to lift you up whenever it is that you feel down. Because the reality is, whenever we see things, like we just got horrific news that
Yeah.
happened in San Antonio a few days ago, it is heartbreaking. And it is hard.
Yeah.
The reality is that there's days that we feel like that. So
Mm-hmm.
a support system, I think it's one of the most important pieces in building wealth for us and for our family.
Yeah, and that includes not only, community support, friends, family, mental health support, but also support in your business like bookkeeping. I mean, that's another way of
Yeah,
getting support so that you don't have to do everything alone and
for
figure
sure.
out every single thing in your business. Like there are services like what your business provides that supports people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all come from different journeys. We all have different, like, it feels like the before and after of like, oh, who were you in your country before you moved here? And who are you now? It feels like you're two different people. Somehow there's like a loss of identity when you move here, especially when you don't have status like I went through. And that matters, like who and what you did, like who you were and what you did before you moved here, whether you are, a child, a teenager, an adult, it does matter. But up to a point, because for example, like I was sharing, my dad had his own business and he had his own ways of doing things in Ecuador. That's how that's how it is done in Ecuador. And
Yeah.
we chatted, we always met with other business owners and things like that, and they all had kind of like the same mentality of, well, this is how I did things in my country,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm doing the same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a
Interesting.
mistake. I think that's a mistake that we make as immigrants, that in that journey, or in that um attempt to hold on to who we were before, which I don't think it never disappears, but that's just the way that we look at it at that point. An attempt to hold on to what we were before, we tend to not be so flexible in the path, like in the structure of things that we build. Business is one of those. I had my wife do it. I had this person do, for example, talking about bookkeeping. Yeah, it's just this person used to do it, so I don't really need anything else. I
Yeah.
have my notebook. That's how I have
Right.
always done it.
Right.
That's the one phrase that you really have to forget. Like, just
Hmm.
because there's something that you have been doing it the same way all the time, number one, doesn't mean that it's right. Number two, if it was right, doesn't mean that it can improve. There's always,
Hmm.
always room for improvement, and especially when you are trying to navigate all the IRS things and laws and just so many things, so many like entities to like, I have to respond to this, to this, to this, to this. It's better if you go at it with like an open mind and say, okay, I might have done it this way before, but I'm gonna learn. This is a new country. It's new laws, new different everything. So go at it from scratch and try to learn as much as you can, but
Hmm.
also making it in a way that works for you. Yes, you got to be flexible. Yes, you got to be compliant to things, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be super complicated. Like bookkeeping is one of those things that are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. This is going to be so complicated. This has so many things. And then once they start like people start working with me, they're like, oh, this is so much better than before. Like
It
I was
makes
making it
everything
worse
better.
before. Right. So you just got to tweak and you learn along the way. But
Yeah.
yeah, just try to think like I was saying, just don't try so hard to hold on to those old ways in a way we can
Yeah.
call them that.
For
There's room
sure.
for better things. We can't make room for better and bigger things and greater things if the channel, like the street that we're walking on, it's so narrow. We gotta expand.
Mm. There's a quote you're making me think of. I just looked up. It's the definition of insanity is doing the same
Mm,
thing over and over again and expecting different results.
yes.
So it just made me thought of that because it's like, yeah, if you keep doing things the way you always did, maybe they're working, but how can you expect it to get better?
Right. Yes. Ooh, that's good. Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about starting Liquid Sense Bookkeeping. How did it happen?
Yeah, it started about like 3 years ago. My husband was
Okay.
in the military. He was in the Coast Guard active duty, but we were thinking, I think it's time for us. I think it's time for our family for just to go back, like to get out of the military, separate of the military. And I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna go back to work. At that point, I was home with my kids. Unemployment is actually a big, big struggle for military spouses, just because we have to move so often.
Yeah, right.
People look it up and like they see your resume, they don't like that. So it's very
Yeah,
hard to get a job, and so many other factors. So just a
yeah,
quick parentheses, if that's you, you're a military spouse and you're going through the same thing, you can reach out to me. I have so many contacts that can help you
that's really
navigate that
nice.
and specifically address that. um yeah, so that's just a quick shout out to
That's a
other
whole
people that can help
nother
you with that. Yeah.
that's a whole nother business you could have there,
Yeah.
helping people.
No, it's not even me. Like I know, so I would direct you to the right people to help you, but just know that it's not you. It's not like, oh my gosh, why is this not working? It doesn't work.
Yeah,
Like it's a struggle. But anyways, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be home with my kids. Childcare is another issue, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay home with my kids while my husband is doing, doing what he's doing. But when we were thinking about him getting out of the military, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to go back to work because I don't know how those finances are gonna look 2 years from now.
right.
So I was thinking, I'm gonna go back to the same thing as before. And then I was like, no, I want to be home with my kids. I want to make money. And then that was before the pandemic. Like I
Mm,
started getting ready before the pandemic. So I
interesting
was looking at
timing.
things like the whole conversation of working from home was getting stronger and stronger.
Hmm.
So that's when I was like, okay, I have worked with QuickBooks before for many years. I like to be kind of like behind the scenes because I'm still not like, I'm very quiet. I like to just do my work behind the scenes kind of thing. And it just seemed like very flexible. I could be with my kids. I could make the money that I needed to bring
Yep.
for my family. So I started getting ready to like my trainings and everything. The pandemic happened. And I think that it really served well to my industry because people are very hesitant to share their financial stories with people that they don't have in
Mhm.
front of them.
Yep.
So if I can look at one positive thing, which that's another whole thing, it's so hard to look at something so horrible that happened and say, well, that was good because of this. And that's not what I'm trying to say. But I think that the timing was really good for those people that wanted to work from home. As everybody can see, the great resignation and everything that happened,
Yeah.
that was really beneficial for my business because people were more open to the whole concept of bookkeeping with a person that
Mhm.
I have never seen in my life.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
Right.
that's what I did. That's why I started. That's when I launched it. And just a side
Yeah.
note again of that, if that's you, like you're trying to launch or wanting to launch your business, just do it. Like everything doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. You don't have to have this big folder of your business plan. Just
Nope.
get the first step and just
Screw
remember
business
that,
plans.
yeah, like just go for it. You can
Yeah.
totally do it. You can totally do it. I think the first year that I was in business, which was like 2 years ago, this is not super
Mhm.
a long time ago. I remember my profit at the end of the year was like $400. And I was like, and of course, you start questioning everything. Is this really for me? Can I really do it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you just have to keep on going. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I have learned, that everything that you see online is make $5,000 today and go from 0 to 10 in 1 month. Everything is just fast, 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 fast. And
Yeah,
although that is very possible and so many people have done it, that doesn't mean that if you don't do that, if you don't get there, that you're failing or that you're a failure.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? Everybody has their own journey. Everybody has different goals as well. If you don't have your goal of $10,000 a month, that doesn't mean that you are doing something wrong either.
Right.
I never had a goal of $10,000 a month. So my profit, like I didn't like my numbers, but at the same time, it was not a failure. You know what I mean? I was not too far
Yeah,
off because at
especially
that
when you're
point,
starting.
exactly. And
Yeah,
you have to look at really what you want to build with that. If you
absolutely.
want to build a large business with employees and locations and things like that, or if you want to build, for example, in my case, I want to work from home. I want to be present with my kids. I want to be there to
Yeah,
put them down to bed and to make their breakfast, but also what I want to work, then that's going to dictate how much time you can work. And how much
absolutely.
time you're able to work is going to have a direct effect in the cash that you make, at least in the very beginning. Once you're already evolving and growing, you can move a little bit back. Things are continuing to grow and make money without you being in the business, but that takes time to get there.
It
And that's what
does.
a lot of people don't share. They just tell you, I'm making so much money and I'm here in the Bahamas just drinking, but it took time to get there.
Yeah,
You have to
yes.
be the one to build it. So I think
Yeah.
that like when it comes to building your business, you do have to be clear with your personal goals and be
Mhm.
okay with that, whether it's $100,000, $1 million, or $2,000, that you're okay with that, and build your day around it. And
Mhm.
whenever you don't make it, you don't make it. And somebody told me in the beginning, and I thought it was brilliant because I never thought about it that way. If something is not working out, you're the boss. Just move it
Exactly.
around.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if
that's
something
good
doesn't work
advice.
out, if you want to not make two, but 10, then make it happen. You know what I mean? If you don't want to make 10, you now want to go back to two, then make it happen. It's up to you to make those changes. And that feels
Yeah.
good.
And how can a bookkeeper support you kind of with that strategy? Like how do you work with your clients on their income goals and their business?
Yeah. So we always chat about, for example, end of the year and then towards the beginning of the year, we meet so that we look at your whole goal of like, did you meet this year's goal? This was your number, this is what you made. And then we look at the beginning, according to last year, where do you want to go and things like that. That's kind of the big picture of setting those goals. But I do like to chat, for example, with my clients. When you look at the numbers that you made, do you feel that those numbers make sense to the input? Like, is the output making sense to you that you're putting the input? Because I work mainly with consultants, with coaches, with therapists. So they're the ones serving their clients.
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. So those are moments to really think about, like you were saying, strategy.
Hmm.
So am I working too many hours and not really seeing the results? That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Am I making a lot of money, but I'm on the negative? That's a red flag. Do I have so many contractors, but I'm still seeing a lot of people. Like, I'm still working with a lot of clients, but I am paying a whole bunch of people to do the same kind of work. That's a red flag. So we look
Hmm.
at literally every single line of their financial reports because every single line has a whole bunch of information behind it.
Yeah.
So, and I think the first thing to do is to make that time. Because let's say that you have a bookkeeper or you are the one taking care of your accounts, whether it's in a spreadsheet, in QuickBooks, whatever software it is that you're using. Bookkeeping, like, the first thing is for you to input those numbers, but the second part, and most importantly, is for you as the business owner to look at them.
Look at the numbers. Yeah. Like,
So
what are they
that's
telling you?
exactly. So that's what I do with my
Hmm.
clients, because even let's say that you have made the step to look at those numbers, that doesn't mean that necessarily you're going to know exactly what they're saying. So that's when
Hmm.
another support, like a bookkeeper, comes in handy, because you might feel overwhelmed, you might feel confused, you might feel like, I'm just going to put it off. I'm just going to put it off.
Yep.
But when you work with me, there's a link, you're going to book a call with me. It's happening. You're going to
Yeah.
get these numbers right there in your screen, and we're going to talk about them whether you like it or not. So that's helpful, to have kind of like somebody to guide you through the process, to walk you through each number, to break things down in a way that it's relevant to you. Because a lot of times we get templates, for example, that are very like broad. But if you use something, for example, your profit and loss, your income statement, you look at it and those categories are making sense to you personally, to your goals, and obviously they have to be compliant with the IRS, then you're going to find a lot more value. You're going to see if you're overspending in something, if maybe you have a little bit more room somewhere else, maybe you are thinking about hiring somebody else and you look at if you have that room there. Maybe you're planning for a vacation during the summer so that you can go somewhere with your kids. Do I have some wiggle room? Can I work more hours or more time prior to that to build up for that and make that cushion? So there's so many things, and I think one of the best things to do is look at those numbers and just ask questions as if those numbers were a person. What can you tell me? Here, money. What can you tell me about me? And just keep dissecting. You might hear my
Yeah.
kids. They just came back from the park.
Totally cool.
So I'm going to actually go close my door. Give me
Go
one
for
second.
it. Yeah. While you're going, I'll just share, like, yeah, I think that's such an important part of business finances that also overlaps a lot with personal finance planning and budgeting. It's very similar. There's a lot of parallel, like with your personal finances and your budget, getting that awareness of where is each dollar going, what categories are they going, are they in alignment with your goals and your values. So I do really similar work with that with folks on the personal side. But it's important to do for your business too. And you have to first learn that skill set. I find personally, in order to do it for your business as well. But then there's a lot of overlap, similar skill set.
Yeah, for sure. And the truth is, most likely, if you're listening and watching us, you're in a position that the business that you have or that you want to build is going to be one of the main sources of income for your personal life. So it is very important, like Adina was saying, to keep both of them organized. Because
Yeah.
let's say that you come to me and I have your bookkeeping like all squared away, everything looks beautiful and perfect, but in your personal finances, you have no idea how much money you need to spend. You don't have a
Yeah.
budget. You don't know how much money you need to survive every month. How much money do you know? Like, you don't know how much money you need to get paid in your business to
Right.
sustain your business and then have that money to pay yourself. So it's
Yep.
very important to have clarity on both ends so that they can run smoothly.
Absolutely. That is such great advice. What would you say is the number one lesson you wish you had learned about either personal finances or business finances, bookkeeping, starting a business? Anything you'd want to share with the immigrant community specifically?
Yeah, I think it's mostly what we chatted about, the whole idea of this is a business. Like
Yeah,
on
like take it
paper and
seriously.
before the law is a business. And when you look at it and you address it that way, you can literally, like, it changes everything.
I
It
agree.
helps you like with the practical side of things to treat it as a business because you think of it as a business. You are not thinking of it as just a way to get paid, but you're thinking of it as a business. So it helps you. It's that motivation to at least start to get in the right track of keeping everything separate. I have my personal bank account, I have my business bank account, and I'm not going to mix them. I'm not going to go to the grocery store and just swipe. I'm going to take the extra step because the reality is that it does take some extra steps. I'm going to take the extra step of logging into my bank app, transferring those funds, and then swiping my personal card.
Yep.
But at the same time, it doesn't feel so tedious. It doesn't feel like, "Oh, this is so annoying that I have to do this," because you're thinking, well, I'm doing things right. I'm building my business. It just helps to feel less overwhelmed. When you have so
Yeah.
many other things to get overwhelmed and confused about, you know that at least this area is, you're doing your best.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And I'm realizing one other benefit we didn't talk about yet of separating the business finances and taking your business seriously is the tax deductions. Do you want to add a word about why that's important to be able to get those deductions?
Yeah. So basically, for example, when you have your bookkeeping and you run your profit and loss is going to tell the IRS how much of that income is taxable. So, how much of those numbers, let's say that you got paid, just for easy reference, $100,000 and you spent 25,000, you have now $75,000 left. That's the number that you're going to pay taxes on. Now, I am not a CPA or an EA, so make sure that you talk to your tax preparer for this. But that's how it usually works. And if you're keeping track of your expenses in your business, those are the expenses that are going to decrease that top line, meaning your income, and it are going to tell the IRS, I spent this on my business. Don't tax me on this. I spent this much on computers, on software, on um like whatever it is that your business is. If you have a restaurant, whatever it is, you're telling the IRS, these are the numbers that I spent on that. Don't tax me on that. This bottom line, this is what you should be taxing me on. And also, a lot of people get like a surprise bill at the end of the year. Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I wonder how much the IRS is going to charge me at the end of the year, as if it's a bill. But when you have that ongoing bookkeeping support throughout the whole year, you are able to send those payments as you're supposed to every quarter to the IRS, so that at the end of the year, you don't have 15, 20, 32, whatever number it is, thousands of dollars to pay because you have
Yeah,
already done it throughout the whole year. So
absolutely.
that's another benefit, that you don't have to like now figure out how much. And that's also when a lot of those like bad feelings about the IRS come, like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, they sent me a letter that I have to pay $15,000. Like, how dare they?
Yeah.
But in reality, they're not going to charge you taxes of money that you didn't receive. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another switch that we can do as business owners,
Mm-hmm.
that you're paying
Yeah.
that because you're receiving that. Now,
It's
if
because you're making
you
money.
exactly, you are making the money. And it's really exactly what's happening when you are an employee, that you have a W
Mm-hmm.
2. Every time that you get your check, and that also doesn't feel nice to see your paycheck, I made this much, they took it out, this is how much
Yeah.
money you're getting paid. But at least they already did the work. So you already
Yeah.
feel like, okay, I have to pay it, but you didn't receive it. When you
Yeah.
have that business, it is now your responsibility to take that number out and save it. So that's a really good practice to do when you have your business. Talk to your tax preparer and see what is a good percentage for you to save out of,
Mm-hmm.
either you want to do it every month, you want to do it out of every time that you get paid, whatever works for you. Just take that money out, save it, get a savings account just for taxes. And
Yeah.
then whenever it's time to pay the estimated taxes, which are every quarter. Now, every quarter for the IRS for estimated taxes have funky dates. So
They
look those
do.
up.
Mm-hmm.
That's much easier. You save that money, you send it every quarter. It feels better. It doesn't
It does. It
hurt
really
so
does.
much.
Thank you for mentioning that. I think that's important for people to know about the quarterly taxes for
Yes.
sure. And the deductions, and just to sum up the deductions, it's basically a way you pay less taxes. You know,
Right.
it's kind of like the government is paying for your business expenses in a way, is one way to I think about it. Cause
Yeah,
like
and a lot of people say like, well, so it's not going to be it's going to be a deduction, so I'm just going to spend it. Like, you still have to be mindful of your
for
expenses.
sure. For
It's
sure.
better to keep that money than to spend it if you don't really have to make the expense.
Right.
But if you are making a real valid expense for your
Hmm.
business, which the IRS calls it necessary and ordinary for its
Yeah,
account as a deduction, then yeah, you get a benefit out of that.
you
So
do. You
it's
do.
nice. Like, it does feel a little bit better to spend the things that you have to spend for your business, without it being super crazy. To know that you're going to get a tax deduction on that.
Absolutely. And, investing in getting professional support, like working with a bookkeeper like Andrea, or working with a financial coach or business coach,
Yeah.
those are deductible expenses that,
Yes.
so
Hmm.
that's another thing to think about. Like getting that support is not only about taking care of yourself and giving you the space to grow your business, but you also get that tax write off. So there's financial benefits too. So it's just about
Yes.
kind of learning the game. Like these are not, cheating the system or anything like that. These are all things laid out in the law and the tax code that, people who are from this country and don't come from immigrant families grow up knowing and hearing about.
Exactly.
And it's important this community knows about these strategies. There's nothing wrong with using them. You don't need immigration status to do any of what we've talked about, right? You just need that ITIN number if you don't have a social security number. So there's so much possibility. And that's why I get so passionate, excited about immigrants starting businesses, because like there's nothing you can't do, right? You don't have to
Right.
worry about the work permit stuff. And then there's also no cap on your potential like there is with a
Right.
salary job and 9 to 5. So yeah, it's learn this stuff, keep engaging, learning from folks like Andrea. And thank you so much for spending the time with us today and sharing all this really valuable knowledge. Where can people follow you, learn about you, work with you?
Yeah, yeah, like you were saying, thank you so much for just coming to hear us out. It's so good to hear somebody else share their story and just feel like you're not the only one, although you obviously know that you're not the only one. But also finding the right people like Adina to get advice from. Obviously, like we were saying, go seek real counsel, like one-on-one counsel. But this is a good starting point. So if that's you, you're starting, or you have your business, or you have had your business here for many years and you have never kept track of anything, today is a good day to start. You don't
Yeah.
have to feel like, okay, well, I didn't do it, I guess. No, I can't. No, it's too late. It's not too late. You can
Yeah.
totally, totally get it straight up. And if you don't necessarily, like, if you don't feel like you're going to end up working with me, but maybe you have a question that I can help you answer, by all means, you're welcome to contact me. So like Adina asked me, I hang out mostly in LinkedIn. So if you just look up Andrea Rotondo or Andrea Rotondo, whatever is easier for you to understand, I'm in
Mhm.
LinkedIn all the time and in Facebook. You will find me in Instagram, although I barely hang out there. So if you text me, like if you message me there, I might not reply. So LinkedIn is where you can find me the fastest.
Awesome. We'll make sure to link it below so everybody make sure to
Thank
connect
you.
and follow Andrea. Thank you so much for all your time and advice. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Take care.